Hey, welcome back to Starz Recapped. Today I'm going to break down a British mystery thriller titled The Renata Road, released in 2022. Spoiler alert. Watch out and take care. Our story begins with a mysterious man dressed in a formal suit, arriving at an isolated, almost eerie hotel called Renata. He seeks something simple: peace, solitude, and an escape from the chaos of the outside world. He's welcomed by the calm yet unsettling hotel manager, who escorts him to his reserved room. From the very start, the man displays obsessive and meticulous behavior, organizing his belongings with surgical precision. After settling in, he decides to explore the hotel grounds, wandering through a deserted pool area, a silent billiard room, and various other eerily quiet spaces. The entire place feels off. There's no sign of any other guests, and an eerie silence lingers in the air. As night descends, he attempts to sleep, but his restless mind doesn't let him. In search of distraction, he turns on the television, only to find one channel available: Animal Planet. Odd, right? Unable to shake his unease, he heads down to the hotel bar, where a young bartender greets him with a smile and offers a drink. But just as he considers accepting, he spots a strict rule: no drinks after 9 p.m. He politely declines. The next morning, he shows up for breakfast in the dining hall, where he sits beside an elderly woman. A book rests in his hands, but his eyes constantly scan the room. He seems troubled, lost, and somehow distracted by something he can't explain. The lady attempts polite conversation, but his mind is elsewhere. Something within this hotel isn't right, and he feels it. Later, on his way back to his room, he comes across a woman named Ginny, gracefully practicing yoga in a serene corner. He watches quietly, almost entranced, until she notices him. Embarrassed, he quickly retreats. Just ahead, he sees the hotel manager once again, this time pinning new posters of rules and procedures on a wall. Standing beside him is his wife, silent and unmoving in a wheelchair, her eyes locked on the newcomer with an expression that's both piercing and unnerving. Later that day, the stranger heads to the hotel pool for a swim. After a few calm strokes, he relaxes on a lounger, holding the same mysterious red book. Suddenly, Ginny appears again, this time diving confidently into the pool. Her beauty captivates the man. He can't help but watch her, enchanted, unable to look away. Soon she swims over and initiates a friendly, flirty conversation. There's chemistry. He's drawn to her, perhaps the first genuine connection he's felt since arriving. But before anything can happen, her boyfriend arrives and pulls her away. The moment is broken. The man is left alone, again. That night, the stranger returns to the hotel bar, where the bartender now offers him cigarettes. Once more, the man spots a rule posted, "No smoking." But this time, the bartender shrugs it off, saying, "Rules just get in the way of pleasure." For the first time, the stranger breaks a rule. He lights a cigarette, awkwardly. Clearly his first time, he coughs violently. The bartender guides him, coaching him on how to feel the nicotine inside. It's symbolic, a man tasting rebellion, testing his boundaries. Later that night, in his room, as he tries to sleep, he hears moaning through the wall. The sound affects him deeply, stirring desires he's suppressed for too long. Overcome, he gives in to self-gratification, a raw, vulnerable moment that marks his further descent into the strange seduction of Hotel Ranata. The following morning, as he heads for breakfast, he spots the bartender peeking into the room of the elderly lady from the dining hall. Disturbed, the stranger calls him out, and the bartender quietly retreats. But curiosity gets the better of him, and the stranger decides to peek in himself. What he sees is deeply unsettling. The elderly woman appears to be trying to pleasure a priest who is simultaneously punishing himself in some twisted form of penance. The scene is bizarre, dark, morally broken. Shaken, the stranger heads to the billiard room, hoping for distraction. There he meets another guest, a businessman, calm, charming, and composed. They strike up a conversation, and the stranger finally dares to ask the question that's been haunting him: "Have you noticed anything strange about this hotel?" But the businessman simply smiles and says, "No." Still, he senses the stranger's unease. With a smirk, he offers a pill. "Take this," he says. "It will make you a completely different person." The next day, the businessman approaches the stranger again, offering him all the pills he wants, but under one condition: Help me find a key I've lost. The stranger agrees. Later, as he heads back to his room, he has an awkward encounter with the maid in the hallway, the same woman who sang so beautifully the night before. As they kneel to pick up some things that fell, he attempts a humble conversation. But she cuts through the small talk with a piercing question. Why are you at Renata? The question stuns him. He can't answer because even he doesn't know. The maid simply walks away, leaving the man to confront his own growing uncertainty. That night, all the hotel guests gather in the dining room. The hotel manager announces a night of entertainment to lighten the mood. The first act is disturbing. The immobile woman, the manager's wife, is wheeled onto the stage accompanied by her son, the bartender. What happens next is both grotesque and sad. The bartender uses his own mother's limp body like a puppet, telling awful, morbid jokes while moving her mouth and limbs for comedic effect. But there's something even stranger. The audience only reacts after the stranger looks at them, as if his attention activates them, making them laugh or applaud. It's a chilling realization, as though everything in this place depends on him. The next act is a stark contrast. The maid, revealed to be the manager's daughter, steps up to sing. Her voice is hauntingly beautiful, and for a moment the room is filled with genuine emotion. The performance ends, but she bursts into tears, overcome by a sadness no one else seems to acknowledge. Dinner resumes. The stranger, still dazed, swallows one of the pills the businessman gave him. The next morning, something's different. He wakes up with renewed energy. He showers, grooms himself, and follows his morning routine with unusual vigor. Hungry for more of the pill's effects, he sets out to find the missing key. Roaming the halls, he encounters the immobile lady again. He notices her necklace. The pendant looks promising. As he reaches for it, he finds only a ring, but something tells him to keep looking. With uneasy boldness, he searches her back pocket, and there it is, the key. He takes it and heads straight to the businessman's room to make the trade. But inside, he finds the businessman casually playing poker with the hotel manager. They greet him and invite him to join the game. He agrees. Partway through the session, the manager excuses himself, leaving the stranger and the businessman alone. Seizing the moment, the stranger hands over the key. In return, the businessman gives him a small glass bottle containing a limited dose of the miracle pills. Back in the businessman's room, he proposes another game, a high-stakes gamble. One more game, he says. If the stranger wins, he'll get another full bottle of pills. But if he loses, he'll forfeit the one he already has. Without hesitation, the stranger agrees. The game begins, tension in the air. But in a surprising twist, he wins again. Now, with 2 bottles of the mysterious pills, he feels invincible. Whatever is happening at Renata, he's no longer afraid of it. Later, while relaxing by the pool, the bartender joins him for a casual chat. They reflect on the bizarre stage performance from the previous night. The bartender opens up. The hotel manager forces them to perform. He says, not for fun, but through fear. He controls us with threats, with fear of the unknown. Their conversation takes a strange turn. The bartender inches closer. The air becomes charged, almost intimate. He seems about to kiss the stranger. But just then the maid interrupts, arriving with fresh towels. Whatever that moment was, it vanishes. That night, the stranger is enjoying a hot bath when loud knocks rattle his door. Wrapping himself in a towel, he opens it to find the bartender again, inviting him to dinner with his family. Though unsure, the stranger eventually agrees. At the hotel manager's home, a strange tension fills the room. The maid, who is clearly part of the family, is excluded from the table, reduced to a servant in her own home. Disturbed, the stranger asks why. The hotel manager answers coldly, someone has to serve. Dinner drags on with uncomfortable silences, and the stranger struggles to find anything to say. Eventually, an argument breaks out between the manager and his son about Renata's rules, power, and control. The tension boils over. Unable to take it, the stranger stands up and leaves, but the night is far from over. Just before midnight, he hears soft sobbing echoing through the halls. He follows the sound and finds the maid, crying alone. He offers to help her, but she runs off, whispering, "No one helps me." Wandering further, the stranger stumbles upon a control room, its walls covered in security monitors. What he sees horrifies him. Every room in the hotel is under surveillance. Hidden cameras watch the guests. Every move, every conversation, every private moment. Panicked, he rushes back to his room, frantically searching. He tears the place apart, desperate to find the hidden camera spying on him. Then his TV flickers on by itself. It displays disturbing footage. The maid secretly delivering medicine to the businessman, her helping the elderly lady bathe, and most shockingly, her in intimate moments with Ginny's boyfriend. The web of secrets begins to unravel. No one is who they seem. Nothing at Hotel Ranata is innocent. The stranger now knows something terribly wrong is happening at Hotel Ranata. Driven by paranoia and dread, he sneaks into one of the vacant rooms. As he peers inside, the bartender appears, silently handing him a key, as if inviting him to discover the truth. Inside, the stranger finds something shocking. The room is filled with laboratory equipment, vials, syringes, chemical acids, and dripping tubes of blood. Scattered papers reference pregnancy experiments and genetic modifications. The hotel, it seems, is hiding grotesque experiments behind its quiet walls. Alarmed, he runs to Ginny's room, only to find her boyfriend injecting her with an unknown substance. Horrified, he confronts the man, but before he can act, the hotel manager arrives and forcibly locks him in his own room. Trapped, betrayed, and confused, the stranger now faces a terrifying truth. Later, the bartender, observing everything from the security room, sends the maid to the stranger's room. She refuses at first, but he threatens to destroy her cherished doll, forcing her compliance. However, when the stranger sees her discomfort, he realizes what's happening. She's not part of the evil, she's another prisoner. Together, they plan to escape, but the bartender is watching. He alerts the guests, who now move with robotic obedience, like mindless drones, controlled by the hotel's system. They rise to stop the escape. Meanwhile, a deeper rift forms. The bartender locks his own father, the hotel manager, inside the control room. The old man, panicking, tries to break free, but in his frenzy, he strikes his head fatally, collapsing and dying alone. Outside, the stranger and the maid are almost free, just steps from the hotel gate. But suddenly, the stranger collapses, gripped by a heart attack. He tries to rise, crawling forward, but he's too weak. The bartender catches up, cold and calculating. He knocks the stranger down as the obedient guests surround the maid. They seize her, tearing at her clothes while she fights back, screaming. She's utterly outnumbered, helpless. Just as the bartender approaches her with violent intent, in the final gut-wrenching scene, the stranger regains consciousness, only to find the lifeless body of the maid beside him. He bursts into tears, crawling toward her, overwhelmed by the horror of what has happened. With all his remaining strength, he pulls her body toward the exit door, where he finds the wheelchair-bound woman, also cold, lifeless, and forgotten. Sobbing, broken, and haunted, the stranger begins to sing the same melody the maid once sang during the hotel's dinner performance. A final tribute, a mourning song for her soul. Cut to silence. Then suddenly, we return to the beginning. The stranger is once again sitting quietly in the hotel, holding the same red book in his hands as if none of it ever happened. So what does this mean? Was everything we saw just a story within a book, a metaphor for trauma, guilt, or psychological collapse? Or is he trapped in an endless loop, a prisoner of Hotel Ranata forever? Let me know your theory in the comments. This was my explanation of the British mystery thriller movie, The Renata Road 2022. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more creepy and mysterious movie breakdowns, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next recap. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one here on Starz Recapped.